Good evening and happy Monday, Wolfpack Nation. We are back and better than ever. Tonight, our episode of A Whole Pack of Wolves podcast is episode number 7. I'm alongside my co-host tonight, Colby Pleasance. I'm your host, Justin Grace, and tonight we are in celebration mode only is for me because we've had a lot of things come through the last week, a lot of great things going on at NC State. So, including some major announcements, and we're going to touch on all those for you guys tonight. So, Colby, appreciate you joining me as always. We're going to kick it off with the most important news of the day is Colby is rocking his MJ Morris jersey. The news came down today, 12:30-ish, when Coach Dorn released the depth chart, that NC State is going with MJ Morris this Saturday against Marshall. So changing of the guard, so to speak, for us tonight, Colby. We're going to end up getting another view of MJ Morris. We got a little bit of that last year. Got 2.5 games last year. So not brand new, but it is new for the 2023 era. So
yeah,
super excited about the direction of the program. I think it says a lot about what Coach Doran had to think about. He obviously told us in the post-game press conference that he had already identified the spots that we needed to start making some changes, and this was one of the very first ones we saw.
yeah.
But there were also other changes too for the depth chart, and we're going to talk about those. But I wanted to get what your initial thoughts were on, when you heard about the news, when it came down. What are your initial feelings? How did you, what did you think? Where do you think the program's going to head going forward now?
Well, of course, we all must have thought that Dave must have saw the flyer that was posted all around campus with MJ's face on it and says missing. Can you find them? Please contact Dave Dorns. I'm guessing Dave was getting some calls and stuff. So I mean, it was the right call. Just to touch base with the Louisville game, losing a tough one, 13-10, due to poor quarterback play from Brennan Armstrong. And it wasn't just on Brennan, there was some offensive line wasn't there and receivers weren't there and the run game was clearly not there. But, a quarterback is to facilitate and try to, diagnose certain things about the defense and stuff. And Brennan just has showed left and right that he is not good at diagnosing. He's not good at facilitating. He wants to tuck it and run. And it was disappointment after disappointment. And he regressed a lot. Even in the game that we won like 45-7 against VMI. I mean, Brennan had a good game, but he threw one touchdown and didn't do much and didn't do really much after that. It's just to me. Going with MJ, I'm rocking my MJ Morris T-shirt. It's got his name on the back too. So, I just felt like going with MJ was the right call. It's the call that you had to make. Brennan wasn't giving you any production from the quarterback position, and so you have to go with MJ. What this does is you get a way more talented quarterback. You get a kid that's very poised in the pocket. Unlike Brennan, Brennan wanted to tuck and run. MJ might stay in the pocket a little bit and actually try to find some wide receivers to get open. Chemistry. MJ has chemistry with these wide receivers and this O-line and these running backs. So he will know what to do with these guys because these are his guys. He had all last year and all this year with them. Granted, it's a new offense, but you're same guys. You still have that chemistry. And so I just feel like starting MJ now is just going to be a fresh new start. Fresh new start. The outlook of the season is completely different now, though. Like if we were to have kept Armstrong, I feel like a lot of people would have, you know, it was realistic. We could go 5-7, maybe 6-6. MJ, 8-4 still on the table.
Yeah.
Maybe 9-3. Who knows? If he balls out, maybe 9-3. And it's good, all good going with this, because this is like something that's like really important too. So I don't know. I really feel like that this is an important thing, and I feel like we all need to be here for him as a fan base, and cheer MJ on. I mean, MJ is a very talented kid, and I feel like there's a lot of big things coming for him. Also, he got back one of his O linemen, our center, Dylan McMahon, and we also got back Devin Boykin on the defense. So I mean, we got guys back this week, and we flipped some guys around too. So it was a lot of good, even though you had a bad game.
Yeah, I don't want to spend. When we first talked about this last week, I was going to spend a lot more time on it than what I anticipate actually spending time on this week. But it was really, obviously, a really tough game for us at home against Louisville. I mean, it was just one of those games that you just want to put behind you and you want to just forget about it, forget that you ever watched it. There were some good things, some bad. Obviously, we normally revisit our keys to the game, and one of those was I felt like to win that game, you needed to not have the turnovers. That was one of our issues. Running the football was the other key. Just couldn't run the football either. So I just think we didn't meet what we should have met in order to win that game. We had our opportunities, and it just was too many costly turnovers, too many missed throws, too many missed assignments, blocking, just couldn't get anything going on the running game. So didn't really want to spend too much on it just because I think we all know by this point it was a rough one. It was probably one of the worst games offensively we've had, but
yeah,
bright spot was it was probably one of the better defensive games that we've had, for this season. So you take the good, you take the bad. Special teams was great again. So the only thing that, obviously Dave identified was the offense needed a jump start. And when I first saw this today, I was just like, okay, clean slate, fresh start. Everybody likes being able to start over. It's kind of just a kick to the tail for the offense to just get themselves right. And Marshall, you have the next 3 games, you're going to have Marshall, Duke, and then you got a bye week, and then you get Clemson. So if you were going to make a change, now was realistically the time to do it. Because you're going to be able to give MJ those 3 weeks for him to get prepared for a big home game against Clemson. So I really thought if they didn't make the change this week, it just wasn't going to happen, for this whole season. It just wasn't going to make enough sense for him to start or play if he was going to have to come in against Clemson, fresh out. You just don't start. Essentially, he's just a red shirt freshman, however you want to call it right now. I mean, it's just his second year in the program. You don't want to bring that type of kid into a big game Clemson atmosphere for the first time in a new offense. So
yeah,
I think this just gives us the time that MJ needs. But I was really realistically more excited about adding Dylan McMahon back because he really was your true center. And he calls out all the protections and calls out all the assignments. And I really think the last couple weeks, that's been the number one thing that we've identified. I mean, we all think that Brennan could have played better, but the offensive line is really where we were just not as good and not as sharp. And the number one thing that you look at was Dylan not being in the rotation. So at this point, getting Dylan McMahon back is huge. I mean, you have your number one play caller, protection caller, all that up front. It allows, Cooper to go back to guard, which is what we saw today. So I realistically think the troubles that we've had offensively start up front. I mean, any time you're having tough times, it's all starting on the line.
Yeah.
So I really think it's a great time to get MJ back because it's the same time that we're getting the offensive line together again. So just one of those things that kind of worked out. We obviously, too, had some changes at wide receiver, too. So Julian Gray is now moving back inside to the flexi position. And we're also just moving Terrell Timmons back outside with Bradley Rosner, so which is where he was last year with MJ. And that's where those two really had a really good connection going towards the end of last season. So I like that move, like being able to put those two guys in the positions I think they're really going to shine in. I think that's their best positions.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
It was just good to see that fresh depth chart come out this week. I felt like, you get some renewed energy, you get some renewed excitement back, and you feel like you may have a chance, to at least win some games that maybe you didn't think you were. And for me, this is one of those things that even if you don't win as many games as you would like to, you're still getting MJ the experience that he needs to go into next season as your, essentially uninhibited quarterback number one. He's not going to have any competition going in next year for him to be quarterback number one. So you want to have him get as much experience as he can, especially in conference play now. So, and start developing that chemistry too. So, thought it was the right time, right move, great call, Coach Doran. Really, really encouraged to see him make a move like that. I mean, that takes a lot of courage, especially when you are dealing with a 6-year senior quarterback who has proven himself a lot. He just hasn't proven himself recently, and I think that's a tough conversation to have. But just still wanted to say thank you to Brennan Armstrong, too, for doing everything that you could. You gave us everything you possibly could have and more, but it's time for us to essentially see what we have for the future. We appreciate all that you've done for our program. Hopefully you'll continue to be a part of it and continue to want to see growth in the program too. So I didn't want to make this seem like, oh, I hate Brennan. We really do like you and we like Brennan. I do as a person. I think he's a great guy. I think he's a great leader. I think it's just one of those times now we need to see what we have for the future. So that's all I'm going to kind of say about that. That was a really great update for us for this week as the depth chart came out. As we get ready for Marshall, obviously, we will do our team breakdown on Thursday. But there was also some other really good news that came out from over the weekend. I'm going to give a shout out to the PAC volleyball team this past weekend for getting a massive win over number 5 Louisville on Sunday in a 4-set match.
We beat Louisville in something.
Yes, that's right. May have lost to you Louisville on Friday, but we took your number 5 ranking from you on Sunday. So shout out to those ladies for getting a massive victory. First time ever in program history they've beaten a top 5 opponent. So if you guys can get a chance, come out and support them at Reynolds. Give them a really, really good chance. They're really fun to watch. And at this point, they may be on their way towards maybe getting a conference title too. I mean, you're going to see how the rest of the season plays out. But they're playing with a ton of confidence right now, and they're playing with a lot of swagger. So that's one of the things we saw over the weekend. And then I also wanted to give a shout out to our ladies on Saturday for the women's soccer team. Even though they came up short, they still played their guts out. They played their hearts out, let it all out there. It was a tough game when you're playing the number 1 team in the nation. It's a really tough time, especially when you're a young team. But, and speaking to Coach Santoro after the game, he was very, very happy with their effort. They came out with a ton of energy in the first half, and it was mostly due to them. This was their only game of the week. So they were able to kind of put all of their focus and energy into one game, and it really did show. They've had a heck of a last couple weeks. They've tied with Duke, tied with Wake, and had a tough one with North Carolina, but they got a chance this week to turn it around against Virginia Tech and Virginia. So if you guys can come out and support them too, So it's been another really good week, and I feel like we say this every week. Peyton Wilson gets linebacker of the week again for the ACC. So
Yeah,
he's stacking them up. I hope he ends up getting defensive player of the year too for it.
he needs to.
He needs to be at this point. I think it's his second time getting linebacker of the week. So hopefully he'll end up getting his first team all ACC awards. Hopefully he gets all the recognition that he deserves because he is having one heck of a season right now. So,
Yeah.
but that's kind of the last things that have happened ever since we came out last time on Thursday, Colby, and previewed our Louisville game. I just didn't want to spend too much time on Louisville just because of just what it is. I mean, we all kind of know at this point what that game means and how it looks for us going forward. But at this point, we're all moving forward and trying to see what the future holds. So,
yeah. But it
go
did
ahead.
it did feel good that the defense came out and played well against Louisville. It's an offense that averages like 40 points.
Mm-hmm.
And the defense really came out and played. They turned Louisville over a lot, so solid 3 times, correct?
Yep, 3 turnovers for us last week.
Yeah. So I mean, it was a good game from the defense. The offense just wasn't there, and you could clearly see it. And now we have made a decision of a new, fresh start with the offense, with the quarterback change. So I feel like it's gonna be for the best.
I was very encouraged by the defense. I mean, they came in top 5 nationally in total offense. So for our defense to do the job that they did, I mean, they forced 3 turnovers and couldn't have asked for a much better effort. I mean,
Yeah.
they scored 13 points, but 3 of them were on a 53-yard field goal. So, I mean, if you're only really giving up, 13 points and one of those is a 53-yard field goal, I feel like you've done a pretty good job defensively.
Yeah.
So we just couldn't do enough offensively to make that happen. Started out really well. Obviously, we were up 10-0, starting out well, but it's not about how you start; it's how you finish. So it
Yeah.
reminded me a lot of the Boston College game last year, but just on a different level. Like we were just at a totally different level offensively. I just hadn't seen that in a while. Even though he struggled against Boston College, MJ played really well in that first half last year.
Yeah.
And then obviously he got stuck with the knee injury in the second half. So, it's tough. We had a really tough second half
Yeah.
in that game and just couldn't drum up enough points. But it just kind of felt like that second half of the Boston College game, but for a full 60 minutes and not for a full 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So it was just really tough sledding last week for us to get anything going. Just felt like there were missed throws, missed opportunities, just everything just that could go wrong went wrong.
Yeah.
You hit a big play to Terrell Timmons down the sideline, and then immediately you're in the red zone and you throw an interception.
Interception in the red zone. It just was a backbreaker.
Just
And
backbreak.
it all changed after that too. I mean, like you could ask anybody on the team, any of the coaches, any of the fans that were there, any of the fans that were watching. The game really changed for State once the red zone interception happened.
I think so too. And after breaking down the film too, I mean, you can watch film over and over and over, and you can find a penalty probably on every play that you watch. But
yeah,
this one just really, to me, when it happened, I screamed at the TV. I was like, dude, that's holding. Like defensive holding, clear as day for me.
yeah,
And everybody's kind of been getting on the receivers for not batting it down, not getting hands up, blah, blah, blah.
yeah.
And I'm one of those that I try to always see both sides of the story. It's like, hey, why didn't you do this? Or why did this particular play happen the way it did?
Yeah.
And realistically, when your receiver is being held pretty much from the entire start of the play, it's kind of hard for you to run a crisp route. So you're going to not get as much depth on your route. You're not going to be where you're supposed to be if you're being held, for the entirety of the play. And when I'm doing frame by frame breakdowns, I'm like, how do you miss that? Like referee standing literally in the middle of the play, doesn't call the defensive holding, and then we end up getting the interception on the overthrow. So, yeah, ball shouldn't have been overthrown, but realistically, did you miss the holding call before that ever happened? Sure. And I'm sure that we could probably watch every play and be like, there's something, that you could have called. But that one to me just felt blatant right in the middle of the field and should have been called, but wasn't. And sometimes that's just the game. Last year, Boston College was the same way. Could have gone either way. Pass interference could have been called, not been called. If it's called, you win. Or if it's not called, you win. If it's called, you don't. So, sometimes things like that just happen. But it's a culmination of all the other mistakes that you made prior to that will frustrate you as a fan. We can all be like, oh, well, it was that one particular thing, but it really wasn't. We're still having a lot of motion penalties, false starts, just at the worst times in the drives. It just felt like the minute we got momentum was the minute we decided to just hurt ourselves again. So hopefully they can cut down on the mistakes, because that is, to me, the number one thing you can't do in today's college game is beat yourself.
Yep.
So make the other team beat you, and if we did that, we'd probably win. Yep. At a worst case, it's going to be tied. We would have had 13 points guaranteed. So just can't beat yourself like that, know. So, and also when the game is on the line, for me, that third down play, when they called the timeout, I felt like on 3rd and short, you kind of save your timeout. That's just me. They had 3rd and 2 and they were running the ball really well. So, you kind of felt like they were probably going to get a couple of yards on it, but we burned the timeout, which is fine either way. I mean, we got the ball back, so you got another opportunity. But those are just some of the things that we got to clean up. You got to be able to get to be more effective and get to be more efficient on offense. I feel like those things are going to help us clean ourselves up a little bit too.
Yeah.
So we're going to see how that works with Marshall going forward.
Yeah.
But a couple of big games this week. I know women's soccer is on the road this week. Men's soccer is playing again, and so is women's volleyball. So if you guys can get out and support the pack, for those that are on the road, give us at least some road support as well for those up in the Blacksburg area this week. And for those around Raleigh, give our ladies some love and our men some love that are going to be here this week. So, But I didn't really have too much else I wanted to cover. If you had anything you wanted to talk about this week, I don't know, whatever we've had going on. I know you've been sick, so appreciate you being able to come back, and glad to see you're 100%. So,
yeah, I'm back to being 100%, so I'm happy about that. I'm happy my Bills won big this weekend, crushed the Dolphins. So that's always good. It's a division rival. I'm glad with the QB change, but other than that, I don't really have anything else to say. I'm excited to see what this new offense looks like with MJ at the helm.
Me too. We will obviously have all of that breakdown on Thursday when we do our team breakdown for the Marshall game. So we hope you guys will tune in for that as well. Just essentially wanted to give all of our fans a huge shout out for this week, because you guys came out in droves this week. Women's soccer set a new program record with 3,279 in attendance for the UNC game. So huge shout out there. There was an MJ Morris chant that was started during the game as well.
Yeah.
So, sometimes you get what you ask for, and now we're going to find out whether what we asked for is what we're going to get. So, but it was a fun week. We look forward to another good week this upcoming week. It's going to be another great weekend of soccer at the Dale. We're going to be playing Virginia this week, so come out and give the ladies some more support. If you guys, it's free admission, so there's no reason for you guys not show up if you're in the area. So come out and find yourself out, and supporting a really solid team. They're doing a really great job of fighting hard. So, but yeah, I think that's pretty much going to be all that I had for this week until we do our preview. If anything else comes up, obviously we will be on it and let you guys know. Little bit of tiny recruiting news, but you probably will see some smiley faces coming out from the weekend coming up for football. So be on the lookout for that, Wolfpack Nation. So I'm sure a lot of you probably already know who we're talking about, but we're not going to tell it yet until this player wants to come out and make it public. But Wolfpack Nation, we're getting stronger. That's all that matters. So we will catch you guys next episode. Will be Thursday night, again at 7 p.m. We hope that you guys are going to come out and take a look for us as we preview Marshall. Again, the MJ Morris era begins, so we're excited to see what happens this week. Let's continue to give him the support that he needs, and hopefully we'll get some more victories this week. Colby, it's been a great time this week. But for me, your co-host Justin Grice, and the whole Pack of Wolves crew, we're going to leave you guys at it this week. As always, go Pack. Colby, we're going to hopefully beat the Herd this week.
Yeah. Let's beat the Thundering Herd. I've never heard of a Thundering Herd, so we're gonna beat them. We're gonna beat them. MJ's gonna show why he's MJ. And go Pack. And
well,